Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Hey guys, it's Cyrus of Chaos. Today I'm here with Diego Calderon. He's a good friend of mine who represented Spain for a while on the international men's epee circuit, and recently he's switched to Team USA. And today we're going to just check in with him and talk about the results of the Bern World Cup. So, what's up, Diego?
Hello. It's good to see you.
It's good to
You
meet
know
you
what
too.
this makes me think of? We did a video a long time ago together.
Yeah,
Remember we did like a video review?
it was an analysis of John Edison, Rodriguez, and
Yeah. Well, actually no, it was Jorgensen and Di Veroli.
right. Okay, yeah, that was
Yeah, but this was like pre-pandemic
yes,
when I was still fencing for Spain. Now I'm a USA fencer.
yes. Welcome to the
As of
country.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm repping today the half Spain, half USA, you know?
A perfect transition shirt.
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
I switched like 3 months ago. Well, you know the whole process, but in case the listeners don't know, I've been fencing for Spain for like pretty much a whole decade since
Mm-hmm.
2015. Yeah, I recently changed to fence for the US. It was a really hard decision, to be honest. I like fencing for Spain, but like now I'm working here as a coach. I'm helping my dad. Um,
Who is your dad?
my dad is Juan Ignacio Calderon. He's the head coach at UCSD. Yeah, and I'm coaching at SDFC, which is the local club here. In the meantime,
Nice. In
yeah,
Escondido?
in Escondido, California. Yeah, I wish I was in Bern, but right now since I'm fencing for the US, I don't have any points. I have to get into the top 12 and then I can travel,
Yeah.
basically. Um, but they just kind of like your two best knacks. I haven't done many knacks. They take your two best national results and like your four or five best international results.
Yeah.
So getting up there is really tough. Staying there is nice though, because if you get points, you kind of have like a big buffer, you
Yes,
know.
that's true.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm on my own little path, changing now. I'm having trouble like finding a good training environment here. You know, it's in Spain we had a very nice it was like government funded, you know, it was like the Olympic team.
Yeah.
Everyone trained together. We had a national coach who like picked you to be on the team and everything. Here it's more everyone has to find
Everyone
their own way.
does their own thing. Exactly.
Yeah.
Is Southern California a big like epee area? I'm not too familiar with the men's epee scene.
You know, I don't I don't really know.
I remember
Because I'm
LA, I remember LA used to be really strong, but I don't know much about it.
yeah. I heard there's some great fencers in LA. I know there is. Um, a lot of them that were my generation when I was here are not there anymore. Like Steven Ewert,
And Justin
he
Yu.
was from LA. Yeah, and Justin Yu. Those guys are in New York right now,
Mm-hmm.
I think. And those are people I knew when I lived here. Um, like it was funny. I just came back from Kentucky in Louisville, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
We did a knack. I won a knack there when I was 14, like a Y14 knack.
Yeah.
And after that, like I did like a Y14 knack. I did something like a cadet or something. And then I went to Spain. Right? So I haven't been back in so long. When I started doing Nax here again, it was really weird.
I'm sure.
Uh, and so many people I don't know. So like when people are like, "Oh, you fenced this this guy's really good," or "You're about to fence, I don't know, this person." I'm like, "Man, I don't know. Like I don't know the people yet, you know." I just know some people from my own generation, a little bit older too. Bit by bit, I'm like finding a little path. I think what I was thinking about today is my goal ultimately is to go to LA 2028. You know, that's one of the
Local.
big decisions that I had to make because fencing for Spain was beautiful. I love fencing for Spain, but the chances to go to the Olympics through Spain are a lot more limited. I don't know. It's like to say it nicely. Basically, France is gonna go, Italy is gonna go, Hungary is gonna go. Those like the team spots are probably gonna go to them, you know.
So for
And
anybody who's watching who doesn't know, the way that qualification works for the Olympics is top four countries in the world qualify their teams automatically. And then the
Mhm.
next four places are given to the top country from each zone. There's an asterisk next to that, but we don't need to get into the technical details. So essentially, usually there are three or four very strong teams from Europe, and usually only two or three of them are in the top four. So almost always the European slot is filled by one of the teams that he just mentioned. So it's very difficult for someone who's not from one of those countries to qualify a team pretty much ever, which is a little bit unfair to certain countries that are quite strong, but just not like top tier.
On what you were saying about the qualification, we had in men's epee an Olympic medal in 2008, which was José Luis Abajo, who is the
Yes.
current president of the federation, actually.
He lost to Tagliafico in the top four, right?
Yes, and then he beat Bosco,
Yes, that's right.
Gabor Bosco in an exciting match. I remember watching that one in 2008. I was 8 years old. I was just starting,
Mhm.
like I start. That's the year I started fencing. I remember vividly watching it live. Back when I lived in Germany, I used to live in Germany, and now actually Pirri's daughter is fencing too. And if you watch the semifinal after he gets the bronze medal, he puts his thumb in his mouth. Guys like
Oh, to my
because
baby.
she was born that year,
Oh,
right? And now she's an amazing fencer too. So
that's cute.
um,
So wait,
anyways,
you've lived in Germany, the US, Spain,
hmm
and you also trained in Italy for a year, didn't you?
yes, I was like about a year in Italy. Um, we had a project in Spain where they took a lot of the fencers from Spain and sent them around the world. Half of us went to Italy, half of us went to Paris, and I had a great honor to train with Alessandro Bossalini, who was my coach in Italy, who I love very much. And I also had a great chance to go up to Milan a lot and friends with Santarelli and like Vismara and these
A
guys.
bald genius.
Garozzo, yeah, yeah. Who are like an inspiration for sure.
That must have been
Um,
fun.
yeah, but what I was gonna tell you about like my decision to fence over here. Um, Spain has never qualified the team for the Olympics, like as a team. That every time we've gone, like when Pirri went, it's because he went through an individual qualification or he won the
He-
pre-Olympic,
right. He won the
yeah,
last chance tournament.
the qualifier, right? So it's either fence for the US, the Olympics are in the US, there's guaranteed spots,
Hmm.
right? It's all about the numbers, just get into the top four, or make an unprecedented event happen and qualify the team because like admittedly, I don't know if I have the talent or the opportunity to be a fencer that qualifies to the individual spot, right?
But you at
And
least
even
won
if
the
I,
chance.
yeah, so even if I did fence for Spain, and let's say I was the best fencer in Spain, which there's amazing fencers in Spain, so it might not even be the case. I'm all banging it on like just one competition, maybe like do great at the pre-Olympic, which is very
Nerve-wracking.
stressful.
Yes.
Yeah. Or be one of the top fencers in the world, which I just don't know if I'm capable of at this moment. So I think the best path for me was fencing for the US and just trying my best, you know.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, also I'm working here. I can't be living in Spain without having a job, you know, just spending money just so that's how it works out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, you want to get into the burn results?
Of course.
So the first thing that you notice is that actually I thought this tournament was much stronger than the other tournaments that I saw this weekend, where in
Hmm.
men's saber, for example, the number 37th fencer in the world got a top 16 spot. And in women's epee, it was something similar. I think it was like number 33 got a top 16 spot. Here, the
Hmm.
last person to get a top 16 spot was number 21 in the world. So
Yeah.
not that many people were missing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Um, I think it's a very young tournament. Like if you look at the top placements, very young. Like podium was young, top eight was young. There was like very few people that I would say are on the older side. And I
Hmm.
think that's pretty characteristic of a generational change after an Olympic Games,
Yeah,
especially the first competition after an Olympic Games. So Mate Koch one, I think Mate Koch is like 99, 1999. Paulini, I think is 99 too, or maybe he's 98.
that was his first medal at a senior World Cup, right?
Paulini, I believe so. I think so. Um, you never know because you know how men's epee is like the podiums are always super random, like very inconsistent. So if you tell me Paulini got like a third place out of Vancouver one year. maybe he did, but I think that's his first one.
Right, I see
Yeah.
what you mean. Also, Zhang, who finished second, was almost ranked 400 in the world.
Yes, you know what? I haven't heard of him before.
That is a
And
crazy,
yeah,
that is a
that's crazy.
crazy typical epee thing.
Yeah. And especially a Chinese fencer because uh fencing is a small world. We know everybody,
Mm,
right? We do a lot of camps together, and China's like one of those countries where they don't do a lot of collaboration with other federations, and you just like randomly see people like show up out of nowhere and they make him do a medal,
yeah,
you know.
in Saber, that's the Koreans. Also, I said he got second, but he got third, right?
He got third. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think second was Paulini.
yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And the other second was another young fencer.
Galassi was third. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even have a rating. I don't think he'd ever done
Yeah,
it.
he's very young. So
Yeah,
I don't know, he's like 2004 maybe 2005. So it's a young podium.
very young, which is exciting for the
Yeah.
future of the sport. I like Galassi's style a lot. Uh,
Hmm.
some people in the US call him the Italian Imrich.
I have heard that too. Yeah. Yeah. Galassi, the first time I heard about him, it was actually when I was in Spain and some of our junior cadet fencers went to a World Cup where he won. And our coaches, some of our Cuban coaches came back talking like this kid was just walking forward and doing whatever he wants. He just has like a really intuitive, weird timing. And it's very reminiscent of people how people talked about Imrich when I was
Yes.
hearing about him as well. Like he just like does weird like timing. He's got a uh like a unusual style, just I guess.
Yeah, it's like the goofball style, but amazing sense of distance.
Yeah. And that's something I'm like seeing more now as a coach in the US because I have the opportunity to go to like the next now, and I'm kind of seeing it with more of a analytical eye. And if you like just go watch the bouts in Bern and just pick a random bout, you'll see that the schools of fencing, especially in epee, you could tell me maybe it's the same for saber and foil, are like very pronounced, right? Because if you see, for example, Bellman fences like a German, like with the blade a lot moving. If you see Sangyeong Park, super Korean style. If you look at Middleton, she's like that's 100% French school. But if you go to like a NAC in the US, there's not like a pronounced, oh yeah, this is definitely like the fundamental base of the fencing comes from this style or something.
I think a large part of the reason for that is, like you said before, other countries tend to have their national trainings very centralized, but in the US,
Hmm.
we do not. And so you have each person who is good from our team coming from their own club, where
Hmm.
sometimes the club has its own style, sometimes not, but we also borrow influences from the coaches that have immigrated here. So we have some very good Hungarian coaches, some very good Russian coaches, some very good
Yeah,
French coaches. So it's a huge melting pot. That's what America
yeah.
is all about, right?
That is what it's all about. Is 100. That's what it is. Yeah, it's a huge melting pot of people. Yeah,
So looking at the first part of the tableau, the first thing I notice is that Cedric Ho, who he qualified for the Olympics from the Last Chance Asia qualifier,
yeah. He won the
he
qualifier.
he got a top 16.
Yeah. And I'm very happy for him. I love Cedrico. He's a homie.
Yeah,
Uh,
he seems like a
you
cool
know,
guy.
he's like doing a lot of cool. I follow him on Instagram. He's doing a lot of like cool modeling stuff now, which
Yeah,
is cool to see. So he's embracing the Olympic vibe. You go to Olympics.
yeah.
I think two things.
In Hong Kong especially, since Chung Ka Long won the gold medal in Tokyo,
Hmm.
the fencing scene there has exploded. I think
Yeah.
when Chung won the first gold medal, he had like 10,000 Instagram followers, and the next day he
Hmm.
had like 200,000, and now he has like after the second one, I think he had like 500,000 or something.
Yeah. So that's something I was talking about. So Hong Kong is one of those countries that does collaborate a lot with other countries. So we've done camps with them.
Mm,
And from with the Spain team, we have a great relationship with Hong Kong. And one of the things I was talking about before the Olympics with another defense from Hong Kong was he's also here, Anson, NG is his last name.
hmm
He was like, dude, we have Vivian Kong, number one in the world, and we have the foil also number one in the world, Olympic champion. And apart from that, they're like super like good looking, like tall, like so they're like an amazing image for the sport in Hong Kong. So
Superstar.
this, so yeah, they're superstars. So like, of course, like it's natural that the sport's exploding over
Yeah.
there.
The other
Yeah,
bout that really stands out to me in this bracket is Kano Koki and Justin Yu.
our boy Justin.
Yeah,
Yes,
the way that they both fence, I haven't watched it yet, but I want to see that bout.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's a very physical bout.
Yes, for sure. Lots of
Yeah, very
flicking,
back and forth.
lots of back and forth actions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you watch some of the bouts on here?
I did, yeah.
Do you have like a favorite one?
Honestly, I think well, I'll talk more about this later because anything with Zhang
We'll
in it,
lead up. Yeah, you like that?
yes,
Yeah.
I saw. We'll get back to that in a second.
All right, sounds good.
So the next part of the bracket is the bracket with Loyola and Imrik in it, and
Mhm.
Paulini, who is having a fantastic day, beat both of them.
Yeah,
So good for him. I mean,
yeah. I can say Paulini, he wrote something after his result on Instagram, which I resonated with a lot. And he said like when you least search for it or like when you least expect it, it comes, you know?
mhm.
Uh, and I think this is like I've felt that so many times where like, oh, that when you least care about it, you fence the best. The way I can also see it is fencing sometimes is like a toxic girlfriend, man, like or like a crush at school. So when you chase your crush and they're like they don't care about you, and then you're like, you know what, I'm over it, and then they come looking for you. That's what fencing is like. So for example, I fenced Paulini in Heidenheim last year, and I beat him. Um, and his energy, like the way he was fencing. I felt like he was more stressed like at that time in the season maybe. Here I felt like he was just free fencing, like feeling fencing and like being happy. So it's good to see, and that's kind of what men's epee has a lot of it, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Like Loyola, he just came back from the Olympics. He's been doing some camps also in the summer. Um,
It's quite common for people who do the Olympic cycle who don't take time off to not do well at the first tournament or two of
yeah.
the post-Olympic season. It's
Yeah,
pretty
but mark my words, like Loyola is going to be a problem like for years. He's actually like 98. Maybe he's 97 the year he was born, not his age, but
common. So
uh
that's pretty good for an old
he
man.
he is going to be a problem. And then also good news for Loyola, his dad Nelson, who's been his coach his whole life, just got a job. Well, he's going to a Dynamo in Canada. So now the
Whoa.
Vancouver World Cup that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see that. He's
So,
going to be one of the coaches there.
so do you think Nasser is going to move to Canada to train or
I don't think so as of now. I can ask him, but go yeah, he's got a wife and kids. I don't know if they're all gonna move over. It would be interesting for me, like just thinking selfishly, if Nasir goes to Vancouver, I'll definitely go up to visit to fence with him.
yeah.
Nasir and I fence for the same team in Spain. We're teammates and we fence
Oh,
for
that's cool.
Coruña. Yeah. Um and Vancouver from San Diego is a direct flight. That's not bad at all. So maybe I can escape for a week and fence with him.
Hmm.
But as of now, I'm suspecting he's just gonna train in back in Belgium still for a while.
Got it.
We'll find out soon, I guess.
Yeah. There's always a lot of changes like that after the Olympics and seeing which people decide to stick around and which people decide to change their training environments.
Yeah.
That's really interesting to me.
Talking about sticking around, I've heard some rumors that Borrell is retiring.
Whoa.
It was second place at the Olympic Games, which is understandable. But then another one, which I guess we'll have to wait till confirm this, but Roman Canon seems like this is just what I've heard, I can't confirm, but I feel like it seems like Roman Canon might be thinking of retiring too.
It wasn't at this tournament. Maybe he's just taking
Yes.
time off, but
That's what I was thinking too. It was some people uh that told me, but I guess we'll see.
yeah. This
Yeah, you
bracket
know what?
also I thought was
Did we
interesting.
was Bismara at this tournament? I don't think
I
so,
don't think
right?
so either.
And that's interesting, 'cause at the in Tbilisi last year. That was the last tournament before the Olympics, I think. Well, that wasn't like European Games or something. Vismara came to talk to me after. He said, Diego, after the Olympics, I think I'm gonna retire. And I kind of laughed him off. I was like, I
Yeah,
told him,
sure.
I said, I'll see you in Bern. That's what I told him. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, bro. But he wasn't here, which worried me a little bit. I still believe he's not gonna retire. He's too young. He's too hungry. Like I think
He just
he
kind
he
of had his
did
breakout season as well. So,
yes, and he did. I think he did really well at the Olympic Games too.
yep, top
So
eight, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see him soon again. I hope we do. Yeah, he did top eight.
So this bracket's interesting to me because you see El Sayed making the top eight, but not the El Sayed that you're used to. This is
Yes, this is the brother,
the
right? This
third
younger
brother,
brother.
like the
Yeah.
youngest one, I think.
Hmm.
And to get up there, he beat Sten Prinitz. I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah.
that. Uh, Tibor Andrashvi
Hmm.
and Sarkisyan, who is
Oh, yes.
a Russian fencer who was junior world champion
I
in
remember him. Yes.
2019, 2018, something like that.
I remember seeing him in Sochi in the first World Cup after COVID when he was young too. And we were looking at him and he was doing really well. And we said, this guy's going to be a problem. He is going to be very good. And then we haven't seen him till right now, basically.
Yeah, when he won Junior World Championships, I remember thinking like he looks so much better than everyone
He
else
was
in the
so
tournament.
good. Yeah.
But it's interesting with the Russians because it's not like they haven't been doing anything. They've been in Russia, and because of the boycotts and stuff, they haven't been traveling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when they show up to these tournaments, you're like, how's this guy gonna do? Like, has he really leveled up, or is he gonna be able to compete at the World Cup level? And seeing someone like him come out and surprise someone as strong and consistent as like Korbanov is pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I think dude, he's gonna be part of the generational shift. Like
I'd
you see
agree.
here,
If he keeps doing stuff
like
like this, yeah.
Andrasvi, also pretty young, coach is pretty young. I think like we're in the midst of a big generational change. Like the people that were like the Mount Rushmore when I was growing up, like Borrell, Santarelli, uh, all these guys like that are still like pretty active this last Olympic cycle seem like it's gonna be a shift soon. And Di Veroli's part of that. It's gonna be part of that. Uh, some Swiss guys are definitely gonna be part of that. I know Howdy's been doing really well. He's in
Yes.
the bracket as well, and so we'll see. And I think Sarkisian might be the Russian representative of that generation. We'll see more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Di Veroli, he was another person who went to the Olympics who got out really early, and he lost
Hmm.
to a very talented Ukrainian Roman Svichkar.
Yes. Yeah. I feel like I don't know. I always I've spent Switch card many times. I think I've played like 3 or 4 times, only to five in competitions, and I never have trouble with him. Like I always beat him, but then I see him beat absolute monsters all the time and like medal at competitions all the time. Um, so I wonder if he just has like because I'm a French grip fencer right-handed. I don't know if he just has trouble with French like my type of style. But in my opinion, Dioroli will always be like the one of the best fencers in the world. Like I love watching his style.
He's really
So
fun.
yeah, even though he lost here in 64, I don't think it like is reflective of anything. Like I'm sure he's gonna be back on top in
Like I
like
said,
this season, in next season, the season after that. So
yeah,
I'm
he's
not worried
another
about Dioroli.
guy who just did the Olympics and is just possibly fatigued. Because
Hmm.
something that one of my friends told me is that many countries give you the flexibility, especially after the Olympics, to decide that you're taking a little bit of time off. Maybe you're not quite up to scratch and you just want a little bit more like of a mental vacation. You're not quite ready with your training to go compete. But he says that the
Hmm.
Italians do not let you do that. So, ready or not,
Hmm.
like you're going to this tournament, which
Yeah.
to me means more when they don't show up because someone like Vismara not showing up, I mean, without the option to, that could mean that he's either taking time, like a longer period of time off, or
Yeah.
is done fencing.
We'll see. I think he'll be back. I hope he'll be back.
Yeah, me
And then
too.
the next bout, did you see the Park Bellman bout?
I did not.
That there was there a minute left maybe? Sanyon Park was leading 12-6,
Oh
and
my
Bellman
God.
did a really good comeback.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
And then Yamala Galassi, did you see that bout?
Nope.
Dude, Yamala was winning 14-12 and there was 6 seconds left.
Woo!
And Galassi basically just ran forward like crazy and did parry post twice.
With the French
And
grip.
then with the French grip. And then they went to priority and he did like a flying plunge. He feinted to Yamada's 6 and Yamada went to do a back flick and then he like
Went around.
Galassi just pulled back his arm and like sticked it in. Yeah.
Wow.
It was an amazing bout. He was yeah, like if you want to go watch like really fun basketball competition, watch Galassi with Yamada, watch Park with Bellman. And then there's another one which we'll get to soon, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so Galassi won this bracket and he also beat you said Yamada 15-14. He beat
Hmm.
Herzberg from
Yeah.
Germany and he also beat Bellman from Germany.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good for him.
He's got like that really good distance control, that really good timing. And he's a young man, he's got everything to gain. So I feel like if you're someone like Hatzback who's like a older fencer or Bellman who's been or even Yamaha who's been there for a while, you know you're going up against an underdog, and the underdog is just a kid who's hungry and it's gonna be very tricky. So it's a very uncomfortable bout, I imagine.
Yeah, that's a
Oh,
good point.
yeah.
Someone who has nothing to lose against someone who has
Yeah.
Ben. So
And Galassi, he was just injured, I think. Because the first time I saw him was in a competition in Napoli. And then I think there was like a long time where he wasn't fencing. I might be wrong, but I think he was going through a big injury and now he's back. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll
Hmm.
see him more.
And then in this bracket, this one I would say is the most like predictable one that we've seen so far. The top
Hmm.
seed made it all the way through to the top eight. Uh, the most interesting bout here, there's two here that really jump out at me, but one of them is um, Coach and Nelson Lopez Portier.
Hmm.
Like that seems like it would be a very flashy, like back and forth,
Yes, yeah.
action filled bout.
I didn't see it actually.
Yeah,
That's
that's
one
on
of
my
the bouts
list.
I didn't
There's
watch.
too many. There's too many to watch. There were four World
Yeah,
Cups
there's a
last
lot.
weekend. Each of them has a ton of bouts. So
Yeah. You know which one I did? I did watch the Cuomo Jurka, and it was making me think because I've been watching more other combat sports like boxing, like MMA. It like when I saw the Jurka and Cuomo belt, I thought it was funny that we're a sport that like we don't have weight classes, so we get really interesting matchups. Jurka is like a mountain of a man, right? He's an absolute beast. And then Cuomo is like I'm very short too. And Cuomo is like my height as well.
looks like a butterfly,
And,
stings like a
and
bee.
yeah, and there it's like these guys are fighting each other, and I think it's one of the only sports we will see a matchup where you can fence someone who is has completely different characteristics than you, you
Like a
know?
featherweight fencing a heavyweight or something.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you ever watch like I fenced John Edison Rodriguez who's like 6'8".
Like two heads taller than you or something.
Yeah, yeah, or more. Maybe four heads taller than me. And I
Yeah.
feel like th this is one of the only sports where you have face-to-face confrontation with someone who is either so much smaller than you or so much bigger than you.
I've never fenced someone that tall before. It sometimes when he's fencing, it almost look like he's holding a toothpick or something instead of an epee.
With John Edison, dude, John
Yes.
Edison, he'll put his hand over the bell guard and it will disappear. Like his hand is so big. Yeah.
There was one time one of my kids back when I was coaching in Texas was she was 10 at the time and I think literally she was like 4 feet tall or something and she was fencing a Y12 tournament and one of the girls she was fencing was as tall as if not taller than me and she lost the bout really badly and she was like what was I supposed to do there? I was like literally I don't know. I've never fenced
Yeah.
someone twice my height. It's like trying to hit someone
Yeah.
who's attacking you from up in a tree or something. Like grow more? I don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah, that must be really weird.
It's kind of like our Olympic final, like Borrell against Kokikano. It's
Yeah,
a
and we know how that worked.
and the Kokikano won, yeah.
Yeah,
Cuomo won against Jurka, so
David beat Goliath.
yeah.
But yeah, the other interesting match in this bracket, it was Yurka and Ruben Lamardo.
Hmm.
And it looked like Yurka beat him handily, although you can never truly understand what happened in a bout just from looking at an epee score.
I gotta say, Ruben Limardo, I'm surprised he's fencing one more season. And I love Ruben. Ruben is inspiration. Uh, he has been at the top of the fencing world longer than anybody I know. You know,
2 seasons ago, he
because
was back to #1 in the world, wasn't he?
yes, it's insane. If you look at his results when he was cadet or like even younger, he was winning junior World Cups. I don't know, 15 years ago.
Wow.
Maybe more. I think there was a season where he almost won every single Junior World Cup, and then he obviously got
Wow.
an Olympic gold at the 2012 Olympics, and here he is in the top six, like insane like longevity. You gotta respect Ruben Limardo.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So the next one, this one was a little bit wild, like several upsets here as well.
Hmm.
Bayard out in the first round to Ma Sigyeon, 15-10.
Yeah.
Um,
We got a Frenchman over here who we haven't seen before.
yes, after Middleton beat Lan Minghao in the first
Yes.
round 15-6, he lost to Paul 14, who I had never heard of, 15-14.
Yes. I heard of him. Yulen Pereira, my uh I guess now ex-teammate from Spain,
Spanish
lost
FA
him in
teammate, yeah.
the yeah in the first day. And we were
Oh
all pretty
wow.
surprised by that. Yeah,
That's a that's a really good win.
yeah. So I did see him. He's very tall. He's left-handed and French grip. Um,
All three of
but
the annoying like boxes checked.
yes, he has them all. Yeah, but I feel like Yulen should be used to that because we have a very tall lefty French grip on our team as well. Um, But yeah, I mean that's just kind of characteristic of men's épée sometimes. You have people, especially from countries like France or Italy, that are very strong, that maybe haven't been on the travel team, but now that
Mhm.
there's a few slots open, like say okay, Borrell isn't here, but some other stronger fences, Roman Canon isn't here,
They
have the
have a chance,
opportunity
they're
to
gonna take it.
fence, and they show up and they're beasts, like they're gonna be strong fences, so it's interesting to see.
Yeah, and we also have one of the other strong Japanese guys. Like most people are aware of Yamada, Kano, and
Minogue,
Minobe. Thank you. I
yeah,
always forget.
Komata too, yeah.
And Komata, yeah.
Matsumoto, yeah. You're talking about Matsumoto?
Yes. So another strong Japanese fencer.
Yes.
Their team is really deep and impressive.
I love the Japanese fencers. I gotta say,
Me too.
if you want to watch like a beautiful fencing style, just like an aesthetic fencing on guard position, everything, I'll say watch some Matsumoto belts because he's a really like good example to follow. And I would say Diviroli and Matsumoto are like one of my favorite forward.
Hmm. I think in
Yeah.
general, I really like the Japanese fencers because they're like in a way they're very classical, but they also are kind of flashy. Like not overly slow, but
Yeah.
Kano Koki likes to flick, but you don't get the sense that he doesn't go for like a back flick when it's not necessary. Like he goes for it
Hmm.
when it's a valid option. And as a result, you get a lot of really pretty touches watching someone like him.
But you know something about that? They train like that. They play when they train. And later when you go, because we've done a lot of camps with the Japanese team, and they just have fun when they're training. Like I'm friends with Yamada and training, and he's like laughing and flicking you to the hand and doing like really like unorthodox touches. But later when you go see them compete, they're doing those type of touches all the time. You know?
Well, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is, like you said, I think you should have fun in practice, and
Yeah.
not like you're joking around wasting your time. But the other day, a couple of my kids were like not goofing off, but they were clearly like laughing, like I don't know, like kind of wiggling at each other when they were fencing,
Hmm.
and after the bout was over, I went up to say something to one of them, and I think they thought I was going to scold them, and I was like, I really like the stuff that you were doing. Just make sure your footwork's a little bit tighter when you're doing it.
Hmm.
She's like, you're not gonna get mad at me for what I was doing. I was like, no, like when you're playing around like that, sometimes you actually stumble upon a good idea that you would never try normally when you're being too serious. But
Yeah.
even when you're doing that, just make sure that your fundamentals are good when you're doing it.
You know, when I fenced Yamada in training, I was doing okay. I was doing fine. And I remember I watched a YouTube video of like a Japanese samurai, but I think it was Saito. It was a foil fencer.
Hmm.
I don't know, it was an old video. But for some
You mean
reason
like a compilation video or something, right?
no, like he was a foil fencer, but he was also a samurai or something, and they showed
Oh,
him like with a katana.
that's cool.
So I thought it was Yamada at that point. I had like a brain fart, and I taught in the middle of the route. I told him like, dude, Yamada, I know you're a samurai, man. Like I know you, and he was like, no, I'm not. And like, dude, I saw the YouTube video, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But like after I called him a samurai, he started playing the bout, and he would put his blade on his waist, like under the guard position, like he was about to see the like a samurai or something.
Hmm.
And I was like, dude, after that he beat my ass, man. He did whatever he was playing more than he was before, and I could do nothing, you know. So it's cool to see that the Japanese style is that they're playing in practice, but later when they go to compete, you see the same type of touches they do. So definitely go watch some Japanese fencing if you want to see some flashy stuff.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think the more you have like lunatics doing stuff like that, the more fun the sport is to watch in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another interesting bracket, another very epic
Hmm.
bracket. You have the two top seeds going out in the first round by one touch each. Minobi losing by one touch, but not even getting to 15 is not surprising to me. Like that guy
Yeah.
he seems to like live during an overtime minute.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw that bet actually. I like the last touch from Beetle in the priority. It was just like really confident. I felt like he knew what he wanted. He just went straight forward, looked for the right distance and timing, just did simple lunge to the body, boom, and one leg. And it looked like Minowe was overthinking a little bit.
Simple
So that was
stuff's
a great
great.
match. Yeah.
But there were a lot of close matches in this bracket. Biro from Austria beat Minobi 8-7. Yuval Shalom Freilich lost to Giulio Gaetani 15-14,
Yes.
another young Italian.
Yeah.
Gaetani beat Patrick Jorgensen in the next round 10-9. And a Spaniard,
Yes.
Juan Pedro Romero beats Alexander Biro 13-12.
Yeah.
So,
And the bout after that is one of the funniest bouts I've ever seen. The Gaetani Romero.
why?
It's I these both of these guys are I love them. Like they're both homies. But the funniest thing was when I was just on Instagram right after this bout, and they put an interview of Gaetani, and he was rocking this amazing,
Oh yeah,
beautiful mustache.
his supervillain mustache.
Yeah, and he had it in his interview. He said, like he's like trying to prove himself, like everything great, and then he said, "I'm just gonna my strongest action is the flesh. So if you can't just beat me in this, and I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do." And I said, that's right. I fenced Julio many times. I couldn't beat him in Doha. I couldn't beat him at the European Championships. His flesh is amazing. Like he's got the best flesh. So I said, let me watch the match with Romero because I'm supposing that he did the same thing he does to me against Romero. I kid you not, huh? If you can go watch the bout. Every single point from Gaetani is a flesh.
Wow.
15 flashes. He doesn't do no other action made. 15 flashes. That's it.
Sounds highlightable.
Yeah. I think there was one that maybe was like an advanced lunge that turned into a flash. Everything was like flash. It was very funny to see after.
I always tell my kids if you find something that's working, just keep doing it until it stops
Yeah.
working. Like make your opponent prove that they can deal with it.
Yeah.
That's that concept turned up to
I know I know Romero had to be mad about it too. Like if I go talk to him about he'll be like, he's just flashed at me 15 times,
11.
you know?
Yeah. That also sounds like a Curtis McDowell thing to do. Like his flesh is so fast.
Yeah.
Can't deal with it. Like that's a big problem.
That's it. Yeah. And it's like people say, oh, you're just doing one thing, but you can do that one thing in 200 different ways. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things, Miguel Frazao, who's
Yep.
also a young up and
The
comer.
Portuguese guy.
Yeah, I was talking to his father, who's also his coach, and he was saying, yeah, Miguel hits people in the foot all the time, and some people complain like, dude, he's just hitting me in the foot. but they don't know that Miguel can hit to the foot in 20 different ways. So he hit him to the foot in 5 different ways, So I assume with Gaetani it's kind of the same thing where his flesh is very strong, but he's not always doing the same thing.
Yeah. So this next bracket, um, Bardenay lost really early, which for me that was one of the biggest disappointments of the tournament. He
Hmm.
kind of got screwed a little bit out of his Olympic spot.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah.
The French Federation, for those of you who don't know, like many other federations, just choose their team basically however they want. And I think Borrell going into the Olympics was like number one or two in the world or something. And because Romain Canon had won the last Olympics, they felt like they couldn't not select him because he was in the top 16.
Yeah.
But there was some like fallout between those three, like including Bardenay and the main coach. And so they decided that they were going to not let Bardenay fence and instead send two other French fencers to the competition. And
Hmm.
the French team ended up getting fourth despite being the number one team in the world going into the Olympics. So a bit of like a cut off your nose to spite your face situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what happened internally. Um, but yeah, it must be horrible, especially like it sucks all around because also if you're someone like Paul Alegre who got to go to the Olympics, uh I mean obviously it's your dream and everything, and some people must have felt sour towards him, and it's not like he could say anything against it.
Yeah.
Like
I
you're
don't
sending.
I don't think he doesn't deserve to go to the Olympics, but it's almost
Yeah.
like there's an asterisk next to it. Like
Hmm.
you got to you went, but you weren't the best one, the most qualified. It's just kind of like it's a weird situation to
Yeah.
put him in, if anything else.
That's how it goes sometimes. That's how federation. That's one thing you won't see much in the US, I think, because
You'll
here
never
it's all
you'll
about the
never see
numbers.
it in the US. I truly believe USA fencing has a lot of problems, but one of the things that we got really, really right is the selection system. I do
Yeah.
think the points list could use some work, but for those of you who don't know, in the US, the way that selection works is if you want to go to a tournament, you put your name on the list, and at the time of selection, say you're going to a regular World Cup, which takes 12 people, then they literally just go down the list on the senior points list. And if you're one of the top
Hmm.
12 people who signed up, you get to go. No questions asked, no exceptions are made.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just the numbers speak for themselves.
Yeah. So when he was saying before, like if you want to go to the Olympics from the US, you just got to be in the top three at the point of Olympic qualification, and you're going. Period.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. I think there is something to be said of more collaboration within the US for team events.
It can
Um,
be hard when the team is switching constantly, but
yes.
the way that our system works, which
But
is
for
definitely.
example, I know it's tough. Everyone's got like you have to study, you have to have a job and everything. I guess in an ideal world, the top fencers in the US could collaborate once every in a while. Like they said, oh, okay, every third weekend of a month, we're gonna go to a club. Or like all together, say like the top 20 fencers in the country and like get together and have kind of a formation. Let's say like, oh, we're just gonna strategize how we're gonna work. And then regardless of who goes, there's probably gonna be people that go to those events.
Mhm.
And and then you could kind of have a formation together, kind of be on the same page together. I know it's very difficult, everyone's got their own life, everybody's got their own like schedules and jobs, and it's not that easy. Um, but I would love to have something like that available. Like if we could just have one time, once every once in a while, like get together.
Yeah, that'd be great. And
Yeah.
I think that happens occasionally, but it's up to the national coach and usually happens, I think it's just a couple times a season that it happens
Hmm.
because everyone's so busy doing their own thing.
Yeah, imagine logistically, it's
Yeah,
it's
I'm
almost
sure it's a nightmare.
impossible to. It's a yeah, for sure.
So in this bracket, you were asking before which bouts I watched. I watched all of Zhang's bouts, and
Hmm.
I watched him in the semifinal when he lost to Coach, who ended up winning the whole thing. And
Hmm. That was
he,
a great bout.
yes, it was an amazing bout, and he was
Yeah.
down, I think, 14-9. 14-9, right?
Hmm.
And time was not really an issue. And he brought it back to 14-13, and all four of the touches that he got were amazing.
Yeah, it
It
was like a
was
back flick, like a forward down to the like
to the floor,
yeah, to the floor.
like a binding floor four where his like blade and his face were almost kissing the
And he like
floor.
fell over. Yeah.
Yeah, a wrist pick, and there was one other touch, but like all of them were just like jaw-dropping touches. And when he lost, I was like, "Oh my God." That
Yeah,
would
and
have
we hit a
been,
double, like an anticlimactic double
yes,
to finish.
that would have been the coolest comeback I think I've ever seen, despite it
Yeah.
not being the most like differential score comeback.
Yeah.
So yeah, he made it through this bracket. He beat Nikita Koshman from Ukraine in the first round, Mohamed El
Hmm.
Sayed, the defending Olympic bronze medalist and the number two seed at this tournament, and he beat him 15-10. So again, like seemingly from I don't remember exactly what happened in the bout, but from the score, like it looks not that difficult. And then he won in
Hmm.
overtime against Yerlik Serte, a Kazakhstani guy who beat
Yeah.
Bardenay earlier. Uh,
Who
but
also went to the Olympics. Sertai also competed.
oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah. The whole Kazakhstan team went.
Right. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they had a very strong team.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
something, I think the Japanese coach who like basic from his name Gorbachuk, I think, he's gonna be the Kazakhstan coach now.
Mm, interesting.
So I'll be interested to know who's gonna lead the Japanese team. I saw,
I heard that their coach was leaving, which is crazy.
yes, yeah, their coach is now gonna be the Kazakhstan coach.
Wow.
Yeah, which is it's a shame for me because the Kazakhstan coach who was there before, who was a Hungarian guy, I love dearly. He was amazing. He's just a really nice guy. So
And also it was like this the situation was working well for Kazakhstan and the situation was working well for Japan.
yeah,
It makes me wonder
yeah.
if there was like an internal problem or just money became an issue.
I think Kazakhstan, he's probably the coach is probably gonna retire.
Oh,
Uh,
that yeah, that's possible too.
and they travel so much, their schedule
Yeah.
is insane. Like they're one of those countries that used to travel everywhere and do camps everywhere.
Yeah.
They come to Spain all the time. Um, for the reason of the Japanese change, I'm not really sure. Yeah. Maybe, sometimes there's just like individual things. Um, the who was the coach who was a Japanese coach, he's also like Eastern European. I think he was Ukrainian. So maybe he just like wants to go back to Europe or like not Europe, sorry, but like maybe he has family
Back to where he grew up, be with his
that yeah, I know Kazakhstan is like far away, but it's maybe more of a culture that's his, but they speak Russian there. So
yeah, possibly.
who knows?
So that brings us to the top eight. What are your thoughts on the top eight? And did you see what were the matches here that are worth watching?
Well, the first thought is it's a very young top eight, right? There's nobody that's like 30 years old, basically. I don't think anybody here is 30.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how old Zhang is, but yeah, it is a very young.
Yes, that's true. We don't know how old that is. Um, but overall, um, I'd say I saw the guy Tani Zhang bout. Um, it was a really nice bout. I think Gaetani likes to start off with the lead and kind of dictate the match that way. Oh, he's 22. Zhang is 22.
Yeah, Zhang is 22, very young.
Look at that. Yeah, so very young. So Zhang kind of got the lead at the beginning of his match, and so Gaetani was kind of behind on like chasing after him. But yeah, overall, like nothing too crazy in the top eight, I'd say. And like no bout that I would say is let's say the semifinal is when it gets interesting.
Yeah, the semifinal, like I said, Zhang and Coach was my favorite bout of the tournament. That is a
Yeah,
must watch for any epee fan. It was just
yeah.
it's such a crazy match.
Yeah, I guess there is something to be said about Paulini beating Kokikano 15-8,
Yes.
who is the Olympic champion. Yeah, I did see that match too, actually. It was just Paulini controlling the distance, getting a lot of nice hand touches. I feel like Kokikano was kind of trailing behind in the dominance of the bout.
Hmm.
And Paulini just looked relaxed, just looked like he was doing his thing. the whole match he was pretty much dominating. I think at one point it was like 13-5 for
Wow.
Paulini. So yeah, just feeling the distance.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah, and then Galassi. This is the other semifinal, the Galassi Paulini. Obviously, Paulini is having a great fencing day overall. But I guess there's also something to be said about these type of fences we mentioned, like Galassi or Imrek, that are a little bit more unorthodox, tend to have a harder time with people that got to know them better,
Hmm.
right? So Galassi probably, Paulini is more familiar with him than Mahmoud El Sayed would be, I guess. So if you kind of get time to adjust, it might not be enough in a 15 in one tournament, but if you've fenced them before, or you just like know of those type of fences before, um,
It doesn't phase you as much.
yes, that's basically true. I don't know if it's the same with Imrek here. I know he's very dominant in the US, but do fencers from the US have like a better understanding of Imrek's fencing than people from the outside? I imagine it's probably the case, right?
Maybe. I mean, Imrich's
Yeah.
been pretty good on the international level for a while, so there's definitely a lot of video of him out there.
Hmm.
Even though he hasn't been doing as many senior World Cups, like I'm sure people are aware of him.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. Like right now, people have to be aware of him. I mean,
Now
yeah,
especially.
yeah. Yeah, see, I'm interested to see how that dynamic is gonna evolve because when fencers are up and coming, people study them for sure,
Yes.
which is probably the case with someone like Miguel Frazao, who's also a young guy who really had an amazing season.
And
People
also
are
has
definitely gonna study him too.
and also has an unorthodox style.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Anything else interesting that you noticed or heard about from this tournament?
Mm, not sure. This is one of those like this is a Bern I have been to like all the Berns up to this. I'm kind of sad not to be able to compete.
Yeah, I know what you
Um,
mean.
I wish I was there to be honest when I was watching it. I didn't look at the team matches, but I did see some of the lineups where they're like some were experimenting a little bit. Especially I think Italy put on a lot of younger fencers. I think they had like Armaleon there, Piatti in there. Um, and the Hungarians won the team event, which is, I guess, not surprising since they are the Olympic champions.
Very strong.
And yeah, and the team is kind of the same, and it's a very young team. So yeah, I guess the standout is what I would note is I wonder if we will see Zhang again because
Yep.
it has happened where okay, Chinese Spencer we haven't heard about has an amazing competition, and then poof, where is he? We don't know. You know,
There was
maybe we
a
don't see him again.
there was a fencer. I forget which Chinese fencer it was, but he beat Kano Koki in a final or a semifinal at a tournament last year that I also thought was one of the best epee bouts I've ever seen, and
Oh, it
I
was in Vancouver last year, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You remember who that was?
Yeah, Wang, maybe?
I don't know.
Like a lefty. Yeah, I know who it is. But this guy was like more established. We've known like he's been a established fencer. The same Lang Minghao is like a super established fencer from the Chinese team.
Yep.
But sometimes we just have like some Chinese fencer that just pops out of nowhere, doesn't has like an amazing competition, and sometimes we don't see him again, you know. So we'll see. This guy's very young. I wouldn't be surprised if, well, after this showing, he'll definitely be in the next few World Cups. But we'll see this whole Olympic cycle, how the Chinese team evolves, you know.
All right, so let's go back through the bouts and recap the ones that are like must-watch matches.
Hmm.
So definitely my pick for the most watched match is Coach and Zhang in the semifinal. You have
Yeah.
to watch that one if you want to watch any of these, and you can find that on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was a great match. I think you can find
Yeah,
these also on Fencing Vision. That's where you can
yes.
find all of these, I think. I don't know
Anything,
if you uploaded them too.
yes, anything in the top 16 you can find on my page. I do that because I always put them in a playlist, so it's really easy to look through and
Yeah.
find whatever you want. But there just isn't as much viewership for epee, so because I'm cutting these up myself, it's not always worth it for me to do all of the 64 bouts, which sometimes don't even get in the double digits, which is
Hmm.
kind of depressing. Like I do all this work,
Yeah, you
cut
have
them
more
up.
outreach too. You go
Yeah,
to
and then
Fencing Vision, the bouts have like 50 views, maybe.
Yeah, and then in the thing that's annoying about fencing vision is I don't know what's going on with the search algorithm related to them, but unless you know exactly where to look, it's still really hard to find stuff on their page. So
Hmm.
you have to like type in fencing vision and like the specific tournament and like the date and then also the names of the fencers for it to come up, which is
Yeah.
again, it's just hard to search for it. So so we definitely have the Coach and Zhang match. Anything else?
Yeah, so here's my Rex. All
Yes.
right. Watch Gaetani Romero
Okay.
count how many flushes he does. Just have a good time. You know, that's an interesting match. Watch Galassi Yamada because that's a beautiful match with an amazing like last second, like 6 second left running comeback. And watch Bellman Sangin Park, which also had an amazing comeback.
Okay.
Yeah, those are great matches.
Anything else?
I'm trying to see. Mm, you know something that's weird? If you wanna like explore a little bit of like strip control and using the whole strip to fence, watch the Cuomo Jurka bout because Cuomo has like this weird ability to go to the back of the line really quickly and never go off and use the full strip and like even if it seems like he doesn't have more space, he always finds like a little bit more opening. So if you want to kind of implement that type of footwork and the strip usage, take watch from Cuomo bouts.
Diego, thank you so much for taking the time to go through this with me.
My pleasure.
It's always good to get an insider's opinion on the stuff because like one of the things that I can bring to the Saber side is I know a lot of these guys pretty well, but I definitely don't
Hmm.
have that to the same extent in epee. So
Hmm. You could I ask you one last question about since we're talking about like the saber and the foil. I mean, or like the epee. You know, we talked about there's different schools of fencing, and I think
yes,
they're very apparent in epee for me at least, where I can see exactly what school they're from. Do you see like very apparent schools in saber? Because I know like the Koreans have like a certain they lunge a certain way, or like the Italians they're technically a certain way. Um, would you say the United States and Saber because they are like a powerhouse and especially in foil have like a American school?
in Saber, I would have to say no. We just have so many people with so many different styles coming from so many different places that I don't think so. Like, if you look
Hmm.
at the men's Saber Olympic team, it was Eli Dershowitz, who grew up in Boston, Philip Dolagevich, who grew up in Chicago, Colin Heathcock, who's been training in France, and Mitchell Sarin, who is from New Jersey. And
Hmm.
each of those guys had different coaches. I think Dershowitz was with Zoran Tulum most of his fencing career. Colin was in California, then he was in France working with Bauer,
Yeah.
and Sarin had Stetsev. I don't know what Philip Dolagevich's coaching heritage is. Sorry, Philip. But yeah, those guys could just not be more separate in terms of style. As far as whether those styles exist internationally, I would say yes, they definitely do. Although the way that the Saber strategy is these days, everyone is becoming more homogenized, which is kind of annoying to see.
Yeah. That's kind of where I wanted to get to, like now that I'm going more into a coaching aspect as I'm working as a coach and we have all the weapons at our club, I think the priority in Saber and in foil gives you a very clear goal to shoot for, right? And you can make it like a training as a coach that's very direct towards that,
Hmm.
right? Let's say, oh, you have to do this. And I'm seeing that in epee when I'm coaching in epee, like, okay, your objective is to turn on your light, like get hit and don't get hit. And I think it's a lot more open in the ways of what your objective is.
Yes.
So I think the schools have a lot, like a much more important role in epee as a coach. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Because everyone has like a different opinion on what the best way to do. Like hitting is such a nebulous goal. You can
Hmm.
hit wherever you want. You can do it however you want, straight, flick, angulated, like power, subtlety, whatever you want to do. And everyone has their opinion on what they think the best option is.
Yeah. But for example, but in Saber and Foil, I think it's more clear for you that like what your goal is, right? Let's say, okay, you don't have to priority, get priority.
Hmm.
beat the blade, or make your opponent attack. Right? Control distance this way with your back leg or whatever. And then saber too is like, all right, either like do the preparation box and you have these options, right? Or in defense, this is what you're really looking for. In offense, this is what you're really looking for. And I think it's more established for you. And as a coach, I think that's amazing. Because I'm also coaching some of the foil kids, and I'll say this is what we're gonna do. Like this is what we're looking for, like A, B, and C. And in FA, it's a lot more like, all right, well, you can do a preparation like this. You have to do it like this. You have to if you fence a lefty, you have to do this. If you fence if you're not feeling distance one day, you have to go back to your strong points. I don't know. So it's a lot more complicated. Where I think having a school for epee is very nice in that sense, you know.
Yeah, I think in terms of individual expression, epee probably allows you to express yourself the most these days. Foil, I would say, is second, and saber, I would think, is at the bottom right now,
Hmm.
just because of what the referees kind of force you to do in saber. But in foil, the referee, what there is still right of way, but the referee is a lot less of a factor,
Yeah.
and so it's not quite like epee in that sense, but when you have the attack, because the defense is so strong, you can kind of hit wherever you feel like, and the way you choose to get in there is very different. And
Hmm.
compared to American fencers, like Garrick Meinhardt is very flicky. He can hit you anywhere from any position, whereas like Rayson Bowden was a lot more direct and about attacking
Timing,
in front of.
lunges, yeah.
Yes, and his incredibly long lunge. And
Yeah.
so those two were both amazing. I think each of them has been number one in the world at some point and completely different styles, which is cool that it allows you to express yourself
Hmm.
in such a different way. So, but that's the beauty of sports in general, right?
That is the beauty of sports, the beauty of fencing as well.
Yeah.
Self-expression. It was a great recap. We'll see how it goes in Vancouver, I guess. We got another one coming up soon. I think next weekend is Vancouver.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Not even
So,
done with this weekend yet.
yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be exciting. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me tonight.
Of course, my pleasure. I'll see you soon, Andrew. Probably see
Yes,
you in January next.
I hope so. I'll be there too.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, how do we
Ciao.
salute this? Bye bye.